Welcome stage 3 to Wrap with Love. And with anything that you start, you need to know what equipment you need. And so in your kit that you pick up from school, you're going to see you've got some yarn. Different people will have different colors. But for you to know, as you look at different instructions, they will be calling for something called 8-ply. And so this is 8-ply. It's a nice thick yarn. Compared to like a baby yarn is much thinner. So we're going to start with 8-ply. And this particular one is 100% wool. This one is 8-ply and it's 100% acrylic. It doesn't matter for Wrap with Love whether you make the blanket with acrylic or with wool. But then the next thing you need are some knitting needles. And for as we learn, we're going to be needing 2 needles to work with. And you have them in your kit as well. But what you need to notice is how to find out what size needles you have, because there are many different kinds. These Wrap with Love asks for 4mm ones. So this one's pretty easy to find. It has 4mm on the top. But some have it on the top of the head. And this one says 4. Now, because we are international, there's different sizing in different countries. In America, a 4mm would be an 8. So some of you will say, oh, but Mrs. Prouty, I have an 8. That's okay. 8 means, in Australia, 4mm. Now, some of you are going to have green ones. Some of you are going to have silver ones. Some of you are going to have longer ones. It doesn't matter how long they are, but what's important is how thick they are. And the thickness is the 4mm that you see here written on the top. So now you know what your equipment is. You each need 2 needles, but to start with, we're going to just need 1. Well, the first thing we need to do is getting some stitches onto our needle. So like I said, we're going to use 1 needle. For vocabulary, you need to learn what it means to cast on. That means getting the stitches onto your needle. It's called casting on. For a square with Wrap with Love, in order to make a blanket, they ask us to cast on 50 stitches. Now, remember what I said in the beginning, we're going to be doing some practicing. So what I want you to do is learn to cast on 15 stitches on your needle. So to start, we've got our ball of yarn, and we've got lots of it. So for 15, they typically say 15 centimeters per 5 stitches. So if that's 5 stitches, and it's 15 centimeters, then that's 30 centimeters, and that's 10, and then that's 45 centimeters, and that's 15 stitches. So now we've got what I'm going to call the tail. So this is the tail, and this is the one attached to the ball. And put it through the hole. And there's this, it's called a slip knot. There you go. And that slip knot now is able to make a nice, once you pull it tight, you've got a stitch, that's called 1 stitch on my needle. I've got the tail, about 45 centimeters, and I've got the other one attached to the ball. So now you have 1 stitch. Remember, this is the tail, and this is the one connected to the ball. That's real important. All right, now you've been successful in getting a slip knot onto your needle, and you want it to be tight enough so that it slides. Then you take your tail, and with your left you take your needle in your right, and you take the 4 fingers on your left hand, and you hold it tight. Then you wrap your thumb from behind and up. You put your needle on your stomach so you can support it. And then you scratch up your thumb, wrap around the back of the needle, and take it off your thumb and onto the needle. So the 4 fingers take the yarn, you take your thumb and wrap the wool around it. You scratch up your thumb, put your needle against your stomach, and take your the yarn connected to the ball. You take that and wrap it around the back and go counterclockwise. And then you put your thumb stitch onto the needle. So there you go. Now how many stitches do I have? 1, 2, 3. So again, you only want to use the tail. Take the 4 fingers of your left hand and hold it tight. You take your thumb and from behind, and then you make it nice and tight. Put your needle support it against your stomach. You scratch up your thumb. You take your right hand, the wool connected to the ball, wrap around the back, coming counterclockwise, and then you slip that stitch from your thumb onto the needle. And now you have 4. How many did we say we wanted? We want 15. So remember, this is going to take practice, but with time, you'll be able to do it, and you want to steady it with your stomach, because then you can do it as you're sitting. Now, some people might try holding it on their leg. Let's see if I can do that. No, I need more support. Just holds it tight, and then off my thumb onto the needle. And then we're going to do 15 because this will help us get started so we can learn how to do the garter stitch in short increments and give you lots of practice. So we're not making the square yet for the blanket, but we'll get there. What did I say? It's going to take practice and practice and practice. So 4 fingers holding the yarn, the thumb coming around the back, making it nice and tight. The needle, your needle's on your stomach. You scratch up your thumb. Now take your right hand and wrap it around the back of the needle, and then you slip that loop onto the needle. So there we go. And now it's time for us to count how many stitches I have on my needle. Let's see. Counting stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's okay. It doesn't matter right now. It's not doing a pattern. And so now we have a tail that will not need ever again. So don't get that confused with your ball of yarn, because now we're ready to start with our second needle.